No help was expected, yet a human warship emerged from the void. The colony of Velaris hung in silence among the stars. Its surface was scarred from months of attack. Buildings were broken, power lines sparking, and the air was thick with dust. Smoke rose from places that once held homes, markets, and schools. The people moved quietly, their faces pale, eyes tired. The aliens had surrounded them and no help came from the outside. The communication channels were empty. Messages sent for weeks went unanswered. Hope had become a fragile thing, almost impossible to find. Commander Ethan Brooks walked along the edge of the colony's main docking area. His uniform was worn, and his hands were stained from repairs he had made to escape shuttles and defensive guns. He did not speak much. Words felt useless when the threat was this close. He watched as groups of civilians were guided to shelters and ships, all moving with quiet fear. Many children clung to their parents, and parents tried to look brave while hiding their panic. Ethan felt a weight in his chest that pressed harder with every passing hour. The aliens were efficient. They had no mercy, no reason to stop until every last human was gone. Hannah Lee, a logistics officer, walked beside him, carrying a stack of documents. She had been tracking supplies, ship readiness, and evacuation plans since the first alien strike. Even now, under the heavy shadow of fear, she kept her focus. "Commander," she said softly, "the last evacuation shuttle leaves in 30 minutes. All supplies have been loaded." Ethan nodded but did not speak. He looked at the distant sky, where alien ships hovered like dark clouds. Their shapes were strange and menacing, lit with pulsing lights that made the air feel colder. In the colony, families tried to stay calm, but panic crept in. Some people were too afraid to move, hiding in empty buildings or rubble. Ethan had no time for fear. He walked among them, giving quiet instructions. "Keep moving," he said. "Follow the shelters. Stay in groups." His voice was steady, but inside he felt the same fear as everyone else. He had trained for many things, but nothing had prepared him for facing a force so large, so merciless, alone. Outside, the alien fleet made its approach. The ships were enormous, their surfaces sharp and shining with strange energy. Their weapons glowed as they prepared for attack. From the colony's observation tower, Ethan watched them through reinforced glass. The aliens moved as one, their actions precise. No one would call this a battle, it would be a massacre. He closed his eyes for a moment, imagining the families under his protection. He wished he could send a warning to anyone outside, anyone who could help, but the channels were dead. Silence answered him. Hannah moved beside him, glancing at the sky. "They are closing in fast," she said. "Our defenses will not last long. Even the automated turrets will be destroyed quickly." Ethan nodded again. "We buy time," he said. "That is all we can do. People must get away. We cannot fight them here." He turned to the group of engineers and soldiers readying evacuation shuttles. "Check every system. Do not leave anything broken. Every life counts." The men and women saluted, their faces grim. They knew what was coming. No one spoke about hope. They all knew it was a faint idea, barely there. The colony's children were gathered in shelters. Many clutched small toys or blankets, holding on to anything that reminded them of safety. Hannah moved among them, speaking quietly. "It will be okay," she said, even though she did not know if it was true. She handed water bottles to the younger ones and tried to calm their trembling hands. Ethan watched her work. He admired her courage. She did not have to be here, but she stayed. She did not run. She faced the fear like everyone else, and it gave him a small measure of comfort. Suddenly, alarms blared across the colony. The alien ships had fired their first salvo. The sky erupted with light and the ground shook. Dust and debris rained from damaged structures. People screamed. Ethan and Hannah rushed to guide the civilians toward underground shelters. He shouted over the roar, "Move faster, stay low." Buildings collapsed nearby, but Ethan did not stop. He carried a small child past a fallen wall, placing the child safely with a family in a shelter. The aliens were relentless, firing in waves that destroyed everything in their path. Inside the command center, Ethan and his team worked tirelessly. Screens showed the alien ships moving in patterns, targeting the colony's remaining defenses. Soldiers loaded weapons, repaired damaged turrets, and coordinated escape routes. Ethan's mind raced. Every calculation, every plan felt like it would fail. He knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, and alone, yet he could not stop. He could not allow panic to spread. If he showed fear, everyone else would give up. He clenched his fists and took a deep breath, forcing calm into his voice. Keep the shuttles ready. Civilians first. We hold as long as we can. The first wave of shuttles lifted off. Engines flared and the ships rose into space, carrying people to temporary stations in orbit. Ethan watched them go, feeling a mixture of relief and sorrow. Every shuttle carried lives, but every shuttle left a small group behind. The aliens pressed closer, firing on the remaining defenses. Explosions lit the night sky. Ethan and Hannah moved from shelter to shelter, checking that no one was left behind. Soldiers fell. Engineers were caught in debris. The screams of the injured filled the air. Ethan's heart ached, but he could not stop. There was work to do and lives to save. Hours passed like this, a blur of fire, dust, and fear. Ethan took brief moments to look up at the stars beyond the alien fleet. He tried to imagine someone out there, someone who could help, someone who might answer the calls that went unanswered. The silence was absolute. No human fleets appeared. No signals came. The galaxy seemed to have forgotten them. Yet Ethan did not give up. Even if help never arrived, he would fight to protect what he could. That was all he could do. By late night, most of the population had been evacuated. Only a few hundred remained, trapped by debris or too slow to escape. Ethan and Hannah moved among them, providing water, checking injuries, and giving quiet instructions. The aliens had not stopped. The colony was nearly destroyed. Buildings burned, fires reflected in the glassy eyes of those still alive. Hannah handed blankets to children and spoke softly. "We will survive," she said, though her voice shook. Ethan stood beside her, watching the sky, wondering if anyone anywhere could hear their calls. Just when all hope seemed lost, a strange reading appeared on the colony sensors. Ethan leaned over the console, blinking in disbelief. The signal was faint, irregular, and unlike anything he had seen. It did not match known human ships. It did not match alien patterns. The crew stared at the screen, unsure what to make of it. "Is it a ship?" asked one soldier. Ethan shook his head. "I don't know," he said, "but it's moving in a way different, almost like it came from nowhere." Hannah's eyes widened. "Could it be help?" she whispered. Ethan frowned. "Don't get your hopes up," he said. "We have survived this long without help. We should prepare for the worst." Yet deep inside, a small spark of hope flickered. As the night stretched on, the alien fleet maintained their orbit, preparing for a final strike. Ethan and Hannah moved among the remaining civilians, checking every corner. Every life mattered. Every person rescued was a victory, even if small. Explosions continued in the distance, and the colony shuddered under the alien fire. Yet Ethan refused to give up. He reminded himself that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. He acted, he fought, he protected. He held the line even when it seemed impossible. Hours passed and the dawn slowly approached. Fires still burned, but the sky began to lighten with the first pale colors of morning. Ethan stood at the edge of the colony, looking at the devastation. He felt exhausted but alive. He had done what he could. The colony had lost much, but many had survived. He glanced at Hannah, who had not left his side all night. She nodded silently. No words were needed. Together they had faced the worst, and they were still standing. The alien fleet hovered, waiting, watching. They assumed their victory was certain. Yet none of them noticed the strange reading that moved slowly in from the void. It was faint, almost invisible against the blackness of space. Ethan did not know it yet, but the arrival of that unknown ship would change everything. For now he only knew this. Velaris had survived the night, not because help had come, but because humans had refused to surrender. Even in the face of overwhelming fear, they held on. And in the quiet dawn, the first sign of hope appeared. Like a faint light in the endless dark, the faint reading on the colony's sensors grew stronger. Ethan and his team stared at the console, unsure what they were seeing. The shape on the screen became clearer with every passing moment. It was a large human warship, unlike anything in the current fleet records. It moved with calm precision, as if it had no fear, as if it knew exactly where it was going. The aliens who had assumed victory had not noticed it yet. Hannah leaned close to Ethan. "Is it really human?" she whispered. Ethan shook his head slowly. "It has to be," he said. "There's no other explanation. The readings match old human ship signatures, but this one is different, bigger, stronger." The crew gathered around, eyes wide with disbelief. After months of being abandoned, of hearing no replies to their distress calls, this was impossible. Help had arrived, in the form of a lone human ship coming from the void. The ship's surface glimmered faintly as it entered the edge of the colony's system. Its hull was scarred, showing signs of many battles, yet it moved without hesitation. The colony's sensors tried to track it, but its movements were strange, almost fluid, unlike any alien or human technology they had seen before. Ethan felt a surge of hope. It was risky to believe it, but he could not stop the feeling that survival was finally possible. The alien commanders noticed the ship next. Strange readings began to appear on their instruments. They paused, puzzled. They had expected no resistance, no challenge, and suddenly this massive warship appeared from nowhere. The aliens gathered in their command ships, studying the newcomer. They sent probes and signals, but the ship did not respond immediately. It moved with purpose, not aggression at first, shielding the evacuation routes around the colony. Ethan watched it through the command center's telescope. He could see the glint of its hull, massive engines glowing softly as it positioned itself between the aliens and the escaping shuttles. Inside the warship, Captain Lucas Grant stood in the control room, calm and focused. He studied the alien fleet and the colony below. His voice was steady as he gave instructions. "Keep shields at maximum. Position defensive drones around the evacuation shuttles. Do not engage unnecessarily. Civilians must get out first." Around him, crew members worked without panic. Damage control teams prepared for the worst, while weapons crews readied the turrets. Yet even under the pressure of an alien fleet, the ship moved like a single mind, each system coordinating perfectly with the others. Back at the colony, Ethan and Hannah watched as the aliens tried to attack the new ship. Beams and missiles struck the hull, but they barely left a mark. The humans on the ship did not respond with aggressive fire at first. They only positioned themselves to protect the fleeing civilians. Ethan's eyes widened. "They are not attacking," he said. "They are shielding us." Hannah's lips trembled. "They came here for us," she whispered. "They actually came." The aliens, confused by the unexpected human arrival, began to hesitate. They had never faced such behavior. No other species had arrived to help the colony, and suddenly a massive ship appeared, refusing to attack unless necessary. It moved calmly, its presence alone forcing the alien commanders to reconsider their strategy. Some ships pulled back, unsure if they were prepared for a real battle. Others continued firing, but the human shields and tactics minimized the damage. Inside the colony, Ethan coordinated with the warship as best he could. They established a simple communication link. Lucas Grant spoke through a clear voice channel. "We are here to help," he said. "Focus on evacuating civilians. We will hold the aliens back. Stay calm and follow instructions." Ethan nodded, almost unable to believe it. "Thank you," he said. We thought we were alone. Lucas's voice was calm. You are never alone while humans remember to answer the call. As the human warship positioned itself, it became clear how powerful it was. Drones launched from its hull, forming a protective shield around the evacuation routes. Energy barriers blocked alien weapons from reaching the shuttles. Ethan watched the scene unfold, amazed. The humans moved with precision, saving hundreds, then thousands. The alien fleet was forced to split their attention, unable to attack the colony directly without risking massive losses. The tables had shifted. Where victory had seemed certain for the aliens, now survival was possible for the humans of Velaris. Hannah moved quickly among the civilians. She guided them to the shuttles as Ethan gave directions over the radio. "Follow the humans' shields," he said. "They will protect you." Parents held children tightly, and soldiers carried injured through debris-filled streets. Every second counted. Every shuttle that reached the safety of the human warship's protection was another life saved. Ethan's heart raced as he realized the full impact of this arrival. The galaxy may have turned away from Velaris, but humanity had not. The aliens, growing frustrated, tried to attack the warship directly. Huge energy beams and missile volleys struck the human hull. Alarms rang on the bridge of the horizon. Crew members rushed to repair damage as turrets fired back to defend the ship. Captain Lucas Grant moved calmly among his team. "Keep the shield steady," he said. "Prioritize evacuation, not revenge." His words were simple but carried authority. He did not panic. He did not hesitate. His calm spread to the crew, and the ship moved as one mind, adapting to every attack. Ethan and Hannah watched as alien ships began to fall back, unable to penetrate the human defenses. The colony's few remaining turrets fired when possible, but most of the heavy work was done by the horizon. Ethan felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. He had never seen anything like it. Centuries of human history spoke of courage, but this was something more. It was intelligence, skill, and courage combined. Humanity had arrived not to destroy, but to protect. Inside the warship, Lucas Grant issued new orders as more shuttles arrived. "We will continue the shield perimeter. Do not stop until every last civilian is in orbit. Casualties are unavoidable, but we minimize them. Every life is a priority." Caleb Moore, his second-in-command, nodded. "We are ready, Captain." Megan Wright, head of engineering, monitored the shield output. "Energy levels are holding. We can continue, but it will strain the systems." Lucas's face was calm. "Then we hold the line. Humans do not retreat when the weak need protection." The aliens, seeing that the humans would not yield, changed their tactics. They split their fleet, trying to attack from multiple directions. Beams crossed in space, explosions erupted, and energy shields flared. The horizon moved smoothly, avoiding destruction while keeping its position. Ethan watched, heart pounding. Every time a shuttle escaped safely, cheers went up, but they were muted by the fear of what could come next. Hours passed. The aliens launched wave after wave, yet the horizon held firm. Civilians were loaded onto evacuation shuttles, many carried by soldiers and volunteers who had stayed behind to protect them. Ethan coordinated with the human ship, marking routes and safe zones. Hannah documented everything, recording each success, each near loss. The colony had survived months of isolation and fear, and now, because of one ship, they had a chance to live. By late evening, most of the civilians were in orbit, under the protection of the horizon. Ethan and Hannah walked through the ruined streets, looking at what remained. Fire still burned, smoke rose, and the alien fleet lingered, but the people were safe. Ethan felt exhaustion like never before, but also gratitude. The human ship had arrived when no one expected it. It had come from the void, unseen, unheard, and yet ready to protect those who had been abandoned. Hannah looked up at the sky where the horizon hovered. "I can't believe it," she said softly. "They actually came." Ethan nodded. "They did. We are not alone." Not anymore. The aliens, finally realizing that the humans would not give up, began to retreat from direct assault. They studied the horizon with caution, unsure of how to proceed. Centuries of domination and conquest had not prepared them for a species that came to protect, not destroy. The sun set over Velaris, casting orange and purple light across the ruins. Ethan and Hannah looked out toward the horizon, feeling a quiet sense of hope. The battle was far from over, and the aliens were still dangerous, but now they had a chance. The horizon's presence had changed everything. It had shown that humans, even when alone, could answer the call. And in the dark of space, one ship had become a symbol of survival, courage, and the unyielding will of humanity. The horizon hovered in space above Velaris, its massive hull glowing faintly under the alien fleet's assault. Ethan Brooks watched from the colony's observation tower as the aliens tried to regroup, still confused by the human ship's sudden appearance. The warship moved with purpose, holding a defensive perimeter around evacuation shuttles and fleeing civilians. Every time an alien weapon fired, the horizon's shields flared, absorbing the blow with a hum of energy. Inside the warship, Captain Lucas Grant moved calmly among his crew. "Maintain shield alignment," he ordered. "Prioritize evacuation routes." "Civilian shuttles are the priority." Caleb Moore, standing at the weapons console, nodded. "Enemy is reorganizing. They are testing our defenses. Turrets are ready for any attack." Megan Wright, monitoring engineering systems, spoke quickly. "Energy reserves are holding. We can continue at full capacity for a few more hours, but we will need to manage strain carefully." Lucas looked at her steadily. "We manage. Humans do not back down when others are in danger." Back on the colony, Ethan coordinated communications with the horizon. "Shuttles 5 through 9 are approaching your shields," he said. "We have another group of civilians ready to move." Lucas's voice came over the channel. "Acknowledged. We will create a safe corridor. Instruct them to stay low during approach. Shields will deflect most fire." Ethan nodded. He had never heard such calm in the face of destruction before. The aliens were relentless, but the humans aboard the horizon were even more focused. The aliens, frustrated by their inability to break through, changed tactics. They split their fleet into two groups, attacking from different angles. Energy beams crisscrossed space, lighting it up like a violent storm. Explosions shook the horizon as alien missiles struck near its hull. Alarms rang across the bridge, and crew members rushed to repair minor damage. Lucas Grant moved calmly among them, giving precise orders. "Damage control teams report. Shields keep maximum output. Weapons stay ready." The crew worked with efficiency, fear replaced by determination. Ethan and Hannah guided civilians to the evacuation points. The streets of Velaris were filled with smoke and rubble, yet the people moved with quiet urgency. Some carried the injured, others pushed shuttles through debris. Every step was dangerous. Alien fire occasionally reached the colony's surface, but the horizon's shields created a protective dome around key zones. Ethan watched the humans in action above. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. They did not seek glory or destruction. They fought to save lives, and that made them unstoppable in a way no one had expected. Inside the horizon, Caleb Moore coordinated fighter drones that patrolled the evacuation corridors. "Drones 1 through 10, engage alien interceptors," he said. Small fighter-sized drones launched from the warship, weaving through the alien fleet. They drew fire away from the shuttles, taking on attacks that could have struck the vulnerable crafts. Ethan observed the drones through telescope feeds. Each movement was precise, almost like the drones knew exactly what to do before the aliens could react. Megan Wright, monitoring engineering, noticed a spike in energy output from the shields. "Shields are under heavy strain," she reported. Lucas replied calmly, "Reroute auxiliary power. We hold the line. Civilians come first." He moved from console to console, checking status, giving orders, and observing alien patterns. He did not panic. His calmness spread to the crew. Each member knew what they had to do, and they did it without hesitation. The aliens tried a concentrated strike on one of the evacuation corridors. Energy beams slammed into the area, tearing through rubble and firing across the streets. Ethan shouted over the comms, "Everyone move! Get under the shields! Follow the drones!" Civilians ran toward the safe zones, guided by soldiers and volunteers. Hannah held a child in her arms and ran alongside families. She could feel the heat from the blasts and the ground shaking beneath her feet. Yet she did not stop. Each life mattered. Every person saved was a victory, even if small. The Horizon's turrets fired back. Massive energy beams struck the alien ships, forcing them to split their attention. Explosions shook parts of their fleet. Ethan and Hannah saw alien vessels retreat temporarily, giving civilians precious minutes to reach the protective shield of the human warship. The Horizon's drones continued to intercept incoming attacks, weaving through enemy fire with precision. It was clear that the aliens had not expected humans to fight this way. They had expected surrender, fear, and chaos. Instead, they faced courage, intelligence, and skill. Hours passed like this. The Horizon moved continuously, protecting shuttles and civilians. Ethan directed movements on the ground while communicating constantly with Lucas. "Shuttles 12 through 15 are ready," he said. Lucas responded immediately. "We create a safe corridor. Instruct them to approach slowly. Shields will cover the path." Ethan relayed the instructions, and the people followed them with careful precision. Some were injured, some exhausted, but all were moving toward survival. The aliens, realizing that direct attacks were ineffective, tried new tactics. They sent smaller boarding ships toward the shuttles, hoping to capture or destroy them before they reached orbit. Ethan watched in horror as one ship moved close to a shuttle carrying children. Lucas noticed immediately. "Intercept Drone Squadron Beta," he ordered. Small drones launched from the Horizon, weaving through space at incredible speed. They engaged the alien boarding craft, destroying it before it could reach the shuttle. Ethan exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. The humans had anticipated almost every move. Inside the colony, Ethan and Hannah continued to organize the remaining civilians. "We only have 2 more groups to move," Ethan said, checking the list. "Stay focused. Every second counts." Hannah nodded, helping people onto shuttles and guiding them past rubble. The explosions and alien fire still shook the streets, but the Horizon's shields created areas of safety. People moved quickly, guided by soldiers, volunteers, and each other. Courage spread in small waves, inspired by the humans above. The aliens attempted one final strike on the Horizon. Massive energy beams converged on the ship, shaking it violently. Alarms rang throughout the hull. Megan Wright shouted, "Shields are failing in Sector 4. Lucas remained calm. "Reroute all power to Sector 4. Weapons teams continue to hold them back. This corridor must stay open." The crew worked with intense focus. The shields held just enough to allow the last evacuation shuttles to pass. Ethan watched as the final groups of civilians entered the protection of the Horizon. Cheers erupted, small but powerful. They were not loud, but they were real. Hope had returned. The aliens, now understanding that their attacks were failing, began to retreat from direct engagement. Some ships fell back, reassessing the situation. They had never faced humans who would fight not for conquest or revenge, but purely to protect the weak. The Horizon moved steadily, guiding shuttles into orbit while keeping the alien fleet at bay. Ethan and Hannah stood at the observation tower, watching the humans work. They were alive, exhausted, but determined. As the last shuttles lifted off, Ethan felt a strange mix of relief and disbelief. Centuries of human history had spoken of courage, but this was something more. Humans had arrived from nowhere to protect a colony no one else would defend. They fought with intelligence, patience, and an unyielding will. Ethan realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans for far too long. Their strength was not only in weapons or numbers. It was in their determination, their courage, and their refusal to leave others behind. Inside the horizon, Lucas Grant surveyed the situation. His crew had managed to protect every shuttle. Casualties were minimal, considering the scale of the attack. He moved among his team quietly, checking on their work and ensuring every system remained stable. Caleb Moore wiped sweat from his brow. "We did it," he said softly. Lucas nodded. "We held the line, that is all that matters. Civilians are safe, that is our purpose." Megan Wright smiled slightly. "They actually made it," she said. Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder. "They made it because we refused to quit. Humans do not give up when others need us." The sun rose over Velaris, casting faint light across the ruined streets. Ethan and Hannah looked at the horizon, still hovering above, its massive hull battered but unbroken. The aliens had withdrawn, for now, unsure how to handle a species that would fight without fear to save others. Ethan felt exhaustion, but also a deep sense of pride and hope. The colony had survived, and the humans above had proven that even a single ship could change the outcome of a battle. The battle was far from over. The aliens could return. The horizon was alone in hostile space. Yet for the first time in months, the people of Velaris believed they could survive. They had seen what humans could do, and they had hoped that the galaxy might not be as indifferent as it had seemed. Ethan and Hannah, standing together, knew that the fight was not over, but they had survived the worst. And above them the horizon waited, calm, steady, and ready. A symbol of humanity's courage and unyielding will, ready to protect the weak, no matter the odds. For Velaris, for its people, and for the galaxy, hope had returned. The horizon floated above the shattered colony, its hull scarred and smoking from the battle. Inside, the crew worked quietly, repairing damage and monitoring alien movements. Captain Lucas Grant walked the bridge, checking every system. The shields had held, but barely. Engines hummed with strain, and the energy core showed signs of stress. He knew that the cost of protecting Velaris had been high. Caleb Moore, standing at the weapons console, glanced at the reports. "We took hits in multiple sectors," he said. "Some turrets are offline. Shields are at 60% in the front." Lucas nodded calmly. "We manage. The civilians are safe. That is our priority. Nothing else matters." Megan Wright wiped sweat from her forehead, adjusting energy flows to stabilize the shields. "It will take hours to fully repair, but we can hold for now," she said. Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder. "We hold. That is all we ever do." Back on the colony, Ethan and Hannah watched the horizon from the observation tower. Smoke rose from broken buildings, and fires burned across the ruins. Yet thousands of people had survived, lifted into orbit on evacuation shuttles. Ethan felt a deep exhaustion settle over him. He had never seen a force like the horizon, yet even its strength came at a price. The human ship had saved them, but it had been damaged in the process. The cost of standing alone had become clear. The aliens, frustrated by their failure, regrouped at the edge of the system. They sent small scouting ships to test the horizon's defenses. The human warship responded with calm precision. Drones launched from its hull, intercepting the scouts before they could reach the shuttles. Energy beams struck alien ships, forcing them to retreat again. Ethan realized that the humans were not fighting for revenge. They fought to protect. That made every action more impressive and more dangerous. The horizon had no backup, yet it moved as if it were an entire fleet. Inside the horizon, crew members worked tirelessly. Damage control teams moved through corridors, repairing hull breaches and monitoring energy conduits. Megan Wright oversaw the adjustments to the shields. "Sector 4 is still weak," she said. Lucas nodded. "We cannot repair it fully yet. Maintain auxiliary power." Every shield matters. Caleb Moore adjusted weapons targeting. Enemy probes detected. They are cautious now. Lucas glanced at him. Good, let them be cautious. We control this fight. The horizon had protected the evacuation shuttles, but at great cost. Engines were strained, and energy systems overheated in some sectors. Crew members showed fatigue on their faces, yet no one spoke of retreat. They moved calmly with purpose, repairing what they could and preparing for the next wave. Lucas knew that every hour they held the line gave Velaris a better chance at survival. He also knew that the alien fleet would not give up easily. They had learned to fear humans, but they were relentless. Ethan and Hannah moved among the remaining structures on Velaris, ensuring the last injured were safely evacuated. Streets were filled with rubble, and some buildings had collapsed completely. Civilians clutched children and small belongings as they moved toward the remaining shuttles. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Even with the horizon above, some people would never leave the planet. Yet he could not stop. Every life saved mattered, and he guided the survivors with calm authority. The aliens launched another wave of attacks, this time targeting the horizon directly. Massive energy beams struck the warship, shaking the hull and causing alarms to ring throughout its corridors. Lucas Grant moved steadily among his crew. Shields at maximum, he said. Damage control teams respond to breaches immediately. Weapons engage only when necessary. Protect the civilians at all costs. Caleb Moore moved quickly, firing turrets to intercept missiles and alien fighters. Megan Wright rerouted power to keep shields strong. The crew worked in perfect coordination, each member knowing their role and performing it without hesitation. Ethan watched as the horizon absorbed the alien fire. Its hull glowed from the energy, yet it did not retreat. Every strike it took allowed more shuttles to reach orbit safely. He realized that the cost of standing alone was not only the strain on the ship, but the danger to its crew. They had no backup, no reinforcements, yet they held their ground. The humans on the warship had risked everything to protect others. Ethan felt a mix of awe and gratitude he had never known before. Hannah moved among the civilians, comforting children and helping the injured into shuttles. "Stay calm," she said softly. "You are safe now." She guided them past rubble and damaged streets, keeping her focus despite the fear pressing around her. Ethan followed, moving quickly to support her and coordinate with the horizon. They were exhausted, but they could not stop. Every second counted. The cost of standing alone was clear, yet they continued. Courage and determination carried them forward. Inside the horizon, crew members dealt with constant minor emergencies. Fires erupted in the corridors, hull breaches caused pressure drops, and energy surges threatened systems. Yet the crew never faltered. Lucas Grant moved calmly from station to station, issuing orders and checking on his people. "We protect, we hold, we survive." "Do not stop," he said. His voice was steady, giving strength to those around him. Even when a missile struck near the lower deck, causing sparks to fly and alarms to ring, the crew responded efficiently, extinguishing flames and sealing compartments. The alien fleet tried one final tactic. They sent fast assault ships aimed directly at the evacuation shuttles, hoping to strike civilians before they could escape orbit. Ethan shouted over comms, "All shuttles, follow the human shields." "Stay low," the Horizon's drones intercepted the attackers with precision. Energy beams struck the alien ships, sending them spinning away. Lucas Grant watched calmly from the bridge. "Protect the civilians. That is all that matters." His calm gave confidence to the crew, and the drones continued to intercept every threat with relentless accuracy. Hours passed. The sun rose over Velaris, casting light across the ruined streets. Ethan and Hannah continued to guide the last groups of civilians to shuttles. Fires still burned in some areas, but the Horizon's shields created safe zones. Ethan realized the full weight of the battle. The colony had survived, yet the humans on the warship had suffered greatly. Engines were worn, shields strained, and every crew member had risked their life to save others. The cost of standing alone was heavy but necessary. Inside the horizon, Lucas Grant reviewed the damage reports. "We took hits in critical areas, but the ship holds," he said. Megan Wright nodded. "Repairs will take time, but we can manage for now. The shields are stable enough to continue." Caleb Moore looked at the alien fleet retreating slowly. "They are cautious now. They will need hours to regroup." Lucas nodded. "Good, let them regroup. We protect what is ours. Civilians are safe. We survived this wave." Ethan and Hannah watched as the last shuttles lifted into orbit, joining the protection of the horizon. Cheers erupted quietly among the people, but exhaustion and fear still hung in the air. Ethan looked at the horizon, knowing the crew had risked everything. Hannah placed a hand on his arm. "They saved us," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Yes, and they paid a cost. We must never forget that." The aliens, seeing that their attacks had failed again, retreated beyond the system's edge. They had learned that humans would fight to protect others, even when alone, even when outnumbered. The horizon hovered above the colony, damaged but unbroken. Its crew worked tirelessly to repair and prepare for the next encounter. They had stood alone, and the cost had been clear in every hit taken and every system pushed to the limit. Ethan walked through the streets of Velaris, seeing what had survived. Buildings were broken, fires still burned, yet the people were alive. Children clung to parents, families reunited, and survivors moved quietly, exhausted but grateful. Hannah followed, helping where she could. Ethan felt a deep sense of respect for the humans above. They had risked everything to protect people they did not even know. The cost of standing alone was great, yet they had not wavered. As night fell over the colony, Ethan and Hannah returned to the observation tower. They watched the horizon as it moved slowly above the planet, its massive hull glowing faintly. The ship had protected them all, yet it bore the scars of the fight. The aliens had learned a hard lesson. Humans do not fight for conquest alone. They fight to protect, even when alone, even when the odds are impossible. The cost is high, but the strength is undeniable. Ethan turned to Hannah. "We survived," he said, "because they came, because they held the line." Hannah nodded. "And because humans never give up. No matter what." Together they looked up at the horizon, knowing that the ship and its crew had shown the galaxy something it would never forget. They had fought alone, paid the price, and saved thousands. Their courage was now a light in the darkness, a reminder of what humans could do even when all hope seemed lost. The horizon floated silently above Velaris, its hull battered but still shining faintly under the starlight. Captain Lucas Grant stood on the bridge, looking at the colony below. Most civilians were safely in orbit, protected by the ship's shields. Fires still burned in some areas of the planet, but the people were alive. The aliens had withdrawn, their attack unsuccessful. Lucas knew this was only temporary. They could return stronger, and the horizon alone might not hold them next time. Yet for now, the immediate danger had passed. Inside the ship, Caleb Moore checked the weapon systems and drone status. "All turrets and drones functional except minor damage in Sector 3, he reported. Megan Wright adjusted energy flows to maintain shield integrity. "We still have stress on the engines and shields, but we can continue operations," she said. Lucas nodded calmly. "Good. We have saved thousands. That is our mission. The rest we handle as it comes." The crew moved with quiet focus, exhausted but proud. They had stood alone, fought relentlessly, and protected those who could not defend themselves. Down on the colony, Ethan Brooks and Hannah Lee walked among the surviving civilians. Children held tightly to parents, and families gathered near the evacuation points, waiting for transport to orbit. Ethan looked at the destruction around him. Buildings were broken, fires still smoldered, and the streets were littered with rubble. Yet hope had returned. The horizon had changed everything. The people of Velaris had seen that humanity could fight to protect others, even against impossible odds. Hannah handed water to a small group of children. "You are safe now," she said softly. "The humans came to protect you." The children looked up with wide eyes, unable to fully understand the danger they had survived. Ethan watched them, feeling a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and gratitude. He knew the Horizon's crew had risked everything, yet they had not wavered. They had held the line when no one else could or would. The aliens lingered at the edge of the system, sending scouting ships to observe the horizon. They had learned a lesson they could not forget. Humans fight not only to survive, but to protect others. The horizon had defended a colony alone, with no fleet behind it. Alien commanders communicated cautiously, trying to understand this species. Centuries of conquest and domination had not prepared them for humans willing to stand against impossible odds purely to save lives. Inside the horizon, Lucas Grant gave orders to prepare for long-term operations. "We repair as much as possible. We maintain shields and weapons readiness. The aliens may return, but we will be ready." Caleb Moore glanced at him. "We are tired, Captain." "The crew is exhausted." Lucas looked steadily at him. "Exhaustion is part of the cost. Humans do not give up when others need protection. We rest, repair, and continue. That is what we do." The crew nodded, understanding that duty outweighed fatigue. Ethan and Hannah boarded one of the last shuttles, moving civilians to the horizon for safety. As they approached the ship, they could see its massive size and the scars from the battle. Despite the damage, it still glowed with strength. Ethan felt awe as he looked at it. "They saved us," he whispered to Hannah. She nodded. "And they will continue to save others. This is who humans are." Inside the shuttle, families clung to each other, exhausted but alive. The ship had changed their lives, and for many, it had saved them completely. As the last groups of civilians reached orbit, the horizon prepared to leave the system. The planet below was scarred and broken, but alive. Lucas Grant gave final orders for the immediate repairs and system checks. "We cannot stay long," he said. "We hold what we must, and then we move on. The galaxy must know that humans do not abandon the weak." Caleb Moore and Megan Wright worked quickly, checking systems and ensuring that the ship could continue its journey even in its damaged state. Ethan watched from the shuttle as the horizon moved steadily through space, its massive hull glowing against the darkness. The humans had arrived when no one else would. They had held the line, saved thousands, and shown what humanity could do. He realized that the galaxy had misunderstood them for centuries. Humans were not just another species to fear or ignore. They were protectors, willing to face impossible odds to save others, even alone. The aliens, observing from a distance, began to communicate cautiously with each other. Their fleet had failed, unable to destroy the horizon or the evacuation shuttles. They had underestimated humans, and that miscalculation would not be forgotten. The species that had arrived from the void had changed the way the galaxy would view humanity forever. One ship had made a statement: humans fight for others, even when alone. Inside the horizon, Lucas Grant walked along the bridge, observing the crew working quietly. Each member was focused, yet fatigue was visible in their faces. He spoke softly, not needing to raise his voice. "We are here to protect," he said. "Every life matters. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That is what we do, and that is what humans always do." The crew nodded, feeling the weight of the battle and the pride of having saved so many. They had stood alone, and their actions would echo across the stars. Ethan and Hannah joined the bridge as the shuttles docked. Lucas greeted them with a calm voice. "You are safe now," he said. Ethan bowed his head slightly. "We owe you our lives," he said. Lucas shook his head. "We did not do this for thanks. We did it because it was the right thing." "Humans do not abandon others no matter the odds." Hannah smiled softly. "The galaxy will remember this," she said. Lucas nodded. "It will. They always do." The Horizon prepared to leave the Velaris system, heading into the void once more. Below, the planet was broken, but its people were alive. Above, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the courage of humans. The crew knew that more battles would come, that the aliens could return, and that the galaxy still held many threats. Yet they also knew that their presence had made a difference. They had stood alone, paid the cost, and proven that humans fight to protect, not just to conquer. Ethan and Hannah looked out of the viewport at the planet below. "We survived," Ethan said quietly, "because they came. Because they held the line." Hannah nodded, holding a child in her arms. "And because humans never give up, no matter what." Together, they watched as the Horizon moved steadily through space, a symbol of courage, protection, and the unyielding will of humanity. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans answer the call, even when all others turn away. As the Horizon disappeared into the void, the surviving people of Velaris began to rebuild. Hope had returned, fragile but real. The memory of the human ship would live in their hearts forever. The galaxy had seen what it meant for humans to fight alone, to risk everything for the weak, and to hold courage as a weapon stronger than any gun. Stories would be told, and across the stars, humans would be remembered not only for their strength, but for their unshakable will to protect. Even as the aliens regrouped, even as danger still existed, one truth remained. No help had been expected. Yet a human warship had emerged from the void. It had changed the course of a battle, saved thousands of lives, and left the galaxy in awe. Humanity's courage, determination, and willingness to stand alone had left a mark that no enemy could erase. And in the quiet of space, the Horizon moved onward, ready to answer the next call, to protect the next helpless world, and to remind the galaxy of the unyielding spirit of humanity.